Tonight on Pure Country Reacts, we tried this one time and
we did too much talking.
We did a whole lot of talking. We don't mean to do a lot of talking, but sometimes you gotta weigh in about some of this stuff. We want to try to stay neutral and not really give political opinions about things, but sometimes things are just really common sense. Especially when you go somewhere and you start trouble and then you get in trouble. I mean, really, sometimes it's just a common sense thing. But anyway, this is going to be episode 2 of and it says SJW, but that is Social Justice Warriors. This is going to be a compilation of those. These are going to be TikTok social justice,
Cringy TikToks.
Cringy TikToks of social justice warriors. And this could be on anything. This could be on abortion, pro-life. This could be on trans. This could be on LGBTQ. This could be on Second Amendment. We don't know, okay? So we're just going through and we're going to review these basically going in blind. So let's go ahead and see what's going to happen with these social justice warriors.
And typically when they're cringy, they typically don't have good arguments at all.
Yeah, that's a thing there too, for sure. So let's get
cringy.
When they're cringy. So let's get into it.
I escaped war in Iran and immigrated to America just for my son to play dress up in Kids Boys.
Oh, Lord. Oh, hey, I think we saw a video of him before, didn't we?
Are less happy than people who only have one or two. The millennial generation that you're a part of suffered in some sense because they weren't deprived enough and had too many choices. The advantage to being deprived is that it's obvious what to do. Like if you're starving, then you eat. There's no question. But if you have enough to eat and you have enough shelter and you have enough information, maybe not as much as you could have, but enough, it starts to become difficult to decide what to do. And then you have another problem, which is that you can't decide what to do.
Pause it. That is actually a really good point. I've never really thought about it. See, because when not that we're rich by any stretch, you would consider us probably lower middle class, I guess. Not by choice. We just have a lot of like medical things going on. Obviously not, people don't choose to have, illnesses, diseases, medical conditions. That does happen sometime. But when you grew up like I did, or like her dad did, or maybe like she did, I was just really, I raised her a certain way. So she sort of kind of was given, like for supper, this is what we're having. Okay. The choice is you can eat it or you cannot. But typically she had everything. So when you give them two choices, maybe since there's not a whole bunch to choose from, you don't really get confused. I don't know. It seems like a decent argument. I've not heard that argument yet, though. Have you?
I've heard it a couple of times because he said that. I've heard a few of Jordan Peterson's. I've heard him make that argument before, but also the fact that when you have a culture like in the Western culture like we do right now, they're trying to make men and women do things that they normally wouldn't do, like making them not have a choice on occupation. But when it seems like when they have a idea of what they want to do, women tend to go into the medicine field, and then men tend to go in engineering type of fields and mathematic fields. But it's like when it comes to food and like choices like of everyday life or like partners, then if you have infinite choices, then it's a lot harder. It's harder to decide than an occupation.
Yeah, I've never heard that argument. It's actually interesting. Yeah, you said that was Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson. I know a lot of people don't really like him, but that was a really
good point.
Actually, a good point, and I think a good argument. I've not heard that one. That was pretty new. Interesting.
If you refuse to date a gay person, you're homophobic. By refusing to date somebody of a different orientation, you're not only hurting a gay person, but you're promoting homophobia in society.
So you know what homophobia is? The fear of a gay person.
Yeah. I think that's really not even a fair word to call anybody because nobody fears.
No. And the thing is if they're not interested in that person, then they're not interested in that person. It's not about the occupation or the orientation, as you say. They're just not interested in that person.
Exactly. And see, that's the thing is we go through life, for the most part, gay, lesbian, bisexual, straight, we all go through looking for that one person, that perfect person, that person that just melds with you, and whether they be the opposite sex or of the same sex or whatever, you're choosing what appeals to you and what you like about that person. So I don't think that's any kind of phobia at all. But let's see what this guy has to say in continuation of his argument. Let's just see.
It's monkey explanation time. Let us say there's a monkey who likes bananas and a monkey who likes pineapples. Both of these monkeys have different appetites. Both of these monkeys eat different things. But that does not mean they hate each other, because they can't choose which foods they like and don't like. There's nothing stopping these two types of monkeys from being friends. Anyways, I hope this helped. Follow to join the tribe.
I liked that. That
Good
was
point.
See, I like
What is going on here?
I honestly do not believe what I'm seeing when I look around. Like, look at how offensive
what people
these
are offended about Halloween costumes.
Yeah, hi.
That is arguably
Oh,
the most
the,
offensive
cultural
costume
appropriation.
I have ever seen in my life.
Excuse me?
You're excused, yeah. To go home and change into something that's not culturally insensitive.
What?
It's like stealing their land wasn't enough for you people.
Now you gotta
can look at
don
her until
their
she's
traditional native headwear. Well, guess what, sweetie? No headdress is big enough
She's a
to cover
native.
up your white privilege.
Part Native American,
You
actually.
feel big? You feel powerful?
I don't know what you
Yeah,
guys
go
are.
on.
All right. Okay.
It's like if Land O'Lakes figured it out, why can't
She
she?
looks like she just left a one-night stand with Squanto.
I don't want to dampen the mood here, but some people just need to know. These costumes are so
We're
offensive.
doing a public service.
Not really.
Someone needs to tell these people it's not okay.
3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Hey, what's up? Not bad, right? There's a line, and you're crossing
You think
it.
it's cool to glorify a culture centered around criminal activity and reckless behavior at sea?
2 words, robbery and murder.
I'm not murdering anybody. I'm just trying to have a good
And
time.
purchasing women at auction for a few gold doubloons and some scrap metal is cute?
You
Doubloons?
believe in the objectification of women. You think you can put a price tag in front of women? You want to buy my girlfriend here?
I'm not gonna say
Side note, okay, if somebody is actually going around and judging costumes in this manner, you just remember next year, don't invite them to the Halloween party.
Yeah, that's typically how that works. And
Yeah,
it seems
that's a-
like they mostly hate it when you dress up as a native.
I guess. I don't know. But people like this are going to spoil the mood of a Halloween party. And I really, really, really love Halloween parties where you can dress up, because that is actually not just for kids. It can be for adults. And we get one time a year to dress up as something else. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
She's not for sale.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to the hundreds of people who are murdered by...
I still wear a mask, even though I am twice vaccinated. That's my gang sign.
Why then? Also, I don't think you have a gang sign. And if you do have a gang sign, that's the worst.
That's
gang
like Wakanda,
ever. Like
though.
a terrible gang.
They're calling that a
Yeah.
gang
It's-
sign. Oh my
it's
god.
Wakanda, though.
I don't think it's going to be a
Dumble
good gang.
bats.
It's also the sign for
Yeah,
Wakanda.
what's
See,
that?
this was Wakanda sign.
Oh my god. She saw the movie, I didn't.
Isn't that cultural appropriation in some way?
Yeah.
Plus vax. Yeah, man.
That's my gang
And really, if you're double vaxxed, then you don't really need a mask from what science says.
From what?
Is right up there with capitalism and killing people and making this world a miserable, miserable place.
Socialist tries to compare Catholicism and capitalism.
No longer my mother, no longer someone I look up to, and you're just as bad as the person who murdered the cow to make that purse. So go ahead, carry your dead cow around, walk into your Catholic church, and listen to them preaching bigotry and hatred, and you can just become a freaking Republican if that's what you really want to be, because you won't go to another freaking church. That's
I'm confused about the argument. So
I
is
don't
her
understand-
argument against church or about meat?
Okay, so she was trying to make an argument, trying to compare Catholicism and capitalism. I don't get the argument, because
Yeah.
what does cows have to do with Catholicism?
Yeah, I know. I'm really confused. So it was almost like she was having a vegetarian argument.
And really, if I was her mother and she talked to me that way, I'd say, all right, leave.
I think she was having a vegetarian argument. She was having a religious argument.
Let's say socialist.
And then she was having a political argument.
I don't think she could figure out what kind of argument she wanted
No,
to
she
have.
didn't. So she was going all kinds of across 3 spectrums at least.
And it seemed like it was about the cows mostly. And then she hated that her mom wanted to go to a Catholic church.
Didn't she
I'm
appear on
blaming
TV?
than any
He's
any
braver.
military veteran who has ever served in the American military.
Have you been face to face with
Somebody who wants to kill you?
military guns? Have you been against somebody with a knife ready to stab your jugular?
Yeah,
have you been around bombs? Have you been around minis of your friends and your allies with their legs severed and their guts
have
falling
you
out?
been around, people that have been blown apart? Have you been around IUDs? Oh, it's not IUDs. What is it? It is IUDs. No, it's not IUDs. Those things that are in the ground that blow up.
Well, I'm just saying bombs.
Anyway, yeah.
Have you been around any of those things?
It looks like he has grown his hair out and has possibly a dress on.
But you cannot compare anything to being a military veteran.
Yeah, no, because
have you seen what the veterans go through when they come back home?
The transitioning might be a big thing for you, but it's not actually putting your life on the line for other people. So,
and then watching your friends and allies die.
Right. I'm going to have to disagree with your argument, although I'm sure making a transition was a big deal and it required a lot of bravery.
Not that big of a deal.
It's not as brave as a military veteran. I'm going to have to probably disagree on that one.
And really, it's narcissistic to say.
The Marines, the Army, the Navy, any of them. Any of them.
So you really hate them.
This y'all.
Yeah, that's really brave. How's that? World Cultural War Dressing Part 2.
Change your pants. What? They're not from Thailand. I got these from the Krishna store. Exactly. They sold them to me. Oh shoot, we're gonna be late. Put some shoes on. Don't let any Roman soldiers see you in those. What, are they gonna arrest me? I would. Did you steal these from Hawaii? I bought those in Hawaii. You have no respect for other cultures. Just go barefoot. Actually, no. There are tribes that do that for sacred reasons. Is that a toe ring? Come on, we're late for lunch at Panda Express. Here, you can borrow my
I love her hair, by the way.
Yeah.
If you think America is more racist now than ever, more sexist than before women could vote, and more homophobic than when blowjobs were a felony, you have progressivophobia and should adjust your mask because it's covering your eyes.
Exactly. And this is coming from a liberal.
You know, before 2012, every time gay marriage was put before a state's voters, it lost 35 times in a row.
So America's progressed a lot.
A lot.
Even half of Republicans are for it. The other half are for closeted gay sex.
This video is for language teachers. If you don't know who I am, my name's Blossom. I use they, them pronouns in English, en español y en francés. I'm an educational consultant for gender and sexuality, and I specifically did my research on transgender people's attitudes towards pronoun usage in their native and additional languages. And this is me telling you that within whatever language you speak, non-binary people exist. And non-binary people are creating language that they don't.
They're not creating language.
No,
they're changing language.
They're changing language.
They're changing the meaning behind words.
And those words do not exist in any other culture except the Western culture that speaks English.
Exactly. So really, just because you decide that you want to identify as whatever, hey, you do you, boo, and that's fine. But the language actually really shouldn't change, because when you put some of these things in sentences or in phrases or in paragraphs, it doesn't really make any sense. So let's try not to change the language, because we're really going to be dumbing down our generation, because nobody's going to know what in the heck they're talking about.
Don't have to adhere to the gender binary. So we, as language teachers, need to be teaching our students, giving our students access to this language.
No, you don't.
Especially for our non-binary students.
There's no
regardless
non-binary
of if
students.
that language is accepted by a linguistic regulatory body.
Hey y'all,
No.
This is your daily reminder that Dr. Seuss is racist and you shouldn't use them in your classroom. I get that some of these books are considered classics. I mean, I grew up on them myself. I also get that he was a product of his...
How in the world was Dr. Seuss books racist? They were like animals.
Yeah, there
And
weren't even people in there. It was a cat, and it was the Who's. And even, Horton was an elephant.
Yeah,
and it's not racist. I don't exactly get it.
It's time. But also, mind you, this is 2021. There are literally so many other books that are more inclusive to all students that you can use instead.
Okay, it's not about inclusivity though. It's a child's book
to teach them language.
But it's easier for kids to learn some stuff when it rhymes. Okay, I don't know why. Think about it. When we listen to music, when we listen to rap music, what does it do? It rhymes. Does it have to make sense? No, but rhymes help children. Music sort of kind of helps children. So we really sort of kind of need to stick to our classics, because when we get in middle school and high school and they start making us read freaking stuff like
novels,
some of these novels like the Scarlet Letter and some of these things that use like Old English, we're really lost. So don't go away from those classics. I mean, really, like I say, they're helpful and kids love things that rhyme.
This has been my first year in preschool with a class of my own, teaching alongside another queer neurodivergent educator. And
okay, now this already disturbs me because she said preschool.
Preschool is typically 4 or 5, 4K or 5K, probably pretty much 4K.
4K and below.
Okay, so in preschool, if I remember correctly, this actually wasn't actually in school. It was actually a daycare that she was at. But they were doing different types of activities. I mean, y'all were like coloring, working puzzles, creating crafts, listening to songs, learning some of those cute little dances and things that we all used to do. I mean, Ring Around the Rosie or whatever. These kids are being kids, they're having fun, they're learning things in order to get to the next step. Kindergarten, where we're going to learn our ABCs and our 1, 2, 3s and our colors and our animals and all these things. This is not a place for pronouns.
This is not a place for political signs. This is not a place for politics because they don't understand it, and they're very impressionable.
They're very, very impressionable, and that might be why people are trying to actually get to the pre-kindergarten kids and the preschool kids and all that. But you know what?
And that's pretty evil.
It really is. So the thing is if you have children, you're free to actually teach your kids the way you want to. But when you go to public school and private school, there are particular things that you're supposed to do, and teaching them gender pronouns and teaching them, you know, all these other different things that really has nothing with making them
about their genitals and sexual pleasures. They teach them that.
Right. That really has nothing to do with making them a productive member of society, and I think it really boils down to more mass confusion than anything, especially when it's a small child.
Yeah, and severe mental illness.
We have been rocking our Choose class. We've been talking about gender and skin color and consent and empathy and our bodies and autonomy. It's been fabulous.
You're sick.
But our teaching team is shifting and a new person.
And that's another thing. People probably can't look at Lexi and tell. Lexi, my daughter, she is biracial. I am white. Her dad is Hispanic, so she is biracial. She can tell you that I never, ever taught her about skin color. I never taught her anything to do with
the differences of people
or anything like that.
She said regardless of anything when it comes to differences or how they look, she told me before going to kindergarten that there are kids that's going to look different than me, and you should love and accept every single one
exactly
of them.
And the first time she ever learned about, even though she could see that there was differences, she never pointed it out. And the first time she ever had it pointed out to her was from another girl who was of a different color than her. She never, ever pointed that out.
And it's because she bullied me and said, I don't like you because you're a white girl.
And it was she was being bullied by someone who told her they didn't like her because of the color of her skin. And we're talking about first grade, okay? Kindergarten. Anyway, so the thing is these are not things we learn, and we start to try to learn how to get along with one another. We make our little friendships.
When you teach them skin color, you teach them hatred.
Exactly. So the thing is there's things that should be learned across the way, and a lot of people talk about maybe putting cameras a lot of times in these schoolrooms, which I absolutely
I agree with, because the thing is we've been seeing how teachers behave towards their students, and these little kids that are 5 and 6 years old that should not be behaving that way, and I think that should be more recognized.
So I think it would be good to put cameras into the classrooms of all, especially in public schools, and the reason being because there are teachers who have an agenda, and that's not a part of what really needs to be taught. Also, there are some teachers that have been found to be actually abusive, verbally and physically abusive. That is typically, a lot of times, it's in a preschool environment, but there has been teachers who have been bullies to other students as well. So I absolutely agree with cameras being in all schoolrooms at all times, where if a parent wants to just sort of kind of go in on the internet and look and see what's going on, hear what's going on, I think that actually should be something.
Unfortunately, the school system won't want that.
Well, that's the things that might get passed later on. I don't know, but I think that's actually a good thing, and I think it protects teachers as well as it protects students. It would protect the school officials as well. So I think that might be a good idea. It's been brought up before.
Yeah, I don't think that 2 and 3-year-olds need to know anything about genitals or skin color.
And what is that she's talking about consent?
Consent.
They don't know what the heck consent is. You can teach your child that if it's under clothing, okay, nobody should touch you, okay? If it's under clothing, nobody else should touch you. And that is the way I taught her. If it's under clothes, that's covered, nobody should touch that, okay? And that might be a harsh way to do it. It might be an easy way to do it. I don't know, but
that's the easiest way for a kid to understand.
Right. Communicate with your children. Absolutely keep the lines of communication open about all things with your kids. And don't give your kids too much information. They don't need certain informations at certain ages. Obviously, a lot of you people already know that. But, children who are 4 years old do not need to know about consent.
And the thing is, the skin color thing, that's one thing I don't really like about the social justice warriors, because they like to think of everybody as a whole in groups. Like, for example, they like to pair all black people together. Mm-hmm. And the thing is every black person in black community are individuals, and they behave and they act in different ways, and they have different occupations, they have different desires, they have different outlooks on life, and you can't put them all in one basket. And I hate it when they put skin colors together, thinking that we're all just going to agree we're all the same.
Thing? It's like they put everything together in a basket. So basically, they separate everybody, and we're sort of kind of going off here. But don't put people together in a basket. We're all individuals, okay? Don't put political affiliations in one basket, because everybody is not the same just because they all vote the same way. Don't put all genders in one basket, because all females sort of kind of think differently. Some think similar. Don't put all men. Don't put people of different races in different baskets. Everybody has their own thoughts. They agree on some things. They disagree on some things. So it's not fair to put a lot of people in baskets together. You can't do that. We're all individuals with different opinions, and you just can't judge everybody by the actions of one.
And teaching the kids about skin color makes them very judgmental, especially
exactly.
It teaches them to judge, especially
onboarded, someone with many years of experience. So today at the lunch table, when the topic of gender and genitals came up, one of our students plainly looked up and said, "Well, I'm a girl today, but I know that teacher Co isn't." No, they're NB.
How does a 2-year-old talk like that?
On the income.
Yes, and that's really what I'm thinking too. Because as a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, or whoever she's talking about in this preschool, you don't talk about genitals. You don't talk about nothing like that. If you want to teach some body parts, this is a head, this is an arm, these are fingers, those are legs, those are feet. That's about as body part as it goes. You don't talk about genitals. And I would have to say, in all fairness, that I think I had her at the perfect time, because she was getting out of school before all this stuff really got kicked into high gear. As a parent, I taught her morals and her values and respect for herself and respect for other people. That being said, if my child came home and was talking about stuff, my small child came home and was talking about stuff like this, I would go to prison. I kid you not. And all parents need to basically have a heart-to-heart with your kids' teachers, okay? Because if I found this out, I'd be punching somebody in the face. I would whoop somebody's ass all over the school. I would be arrested, and they would probably charge me with assault or attempted murder, because they're crossing the line. Parents are the ones that are responsible for teaching their kids things like that, and your responsibility ends where their bodily autonomy and conversations and stuff, begin. That is a conversation between parents and their children. That is not what teachers do, unless you're in the 6th or 7th grade and you're in sex education class. Okay.
Incoming teacher's face was priceless. She was shocked in a good way, and she just looked around at the two of us and said, "This class is incredible, and I am so impressed."
I doubt
and if
that.
I give COVID to my students or my own children and they die, how am I going to live with that?
Pause that. Okay, I'm curious. Did she not follow the science about how COVID, that most people that had COVID had a 98 point something % chance? This is the survival rate of people that had COVID when it first came out was a 98%. Okay. A lot of the people who were passing away were above certain age limits. Those that were younger usually had underlying health conditions.
Everyone else was fine.
Yeah, and children, they don't even get a lot of times as sick as some of the other people do. They were pretty because kids do. They get germs and they get viruses and they get over it. That's usually how they build up their immunities. But the kids really weren't being affected by it. I would have to say when we had COVID though, oh my God, it kicked my butt. But thank God we didn't end up in the hospital. We didn't end up with any long-term things. We thought she was ending up with a long-term heart problem. We have found out otherwise, thank God. So she doesn't have a heart problem. But I think she's just being a bit dramatic about it. I know that these teachers, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where Follow the Science went to.
And I want you to ask any teacher how they feel this year, and I'm sure that they will tell you that they have never experienced anxiety like
a lot
this,
of my
because
teachers
it
said
is
that
like
the
we're
people were
trying to
overreacting.
protect our students from a mass shooting that we know
My
is
science
coming,
teacher
but
in
cannot
12th grade said this was a complete overreaction. A
Really?
science teacher, a genetics teacher, a basically a nursing basics teacher. She said that.
I think it really was overblown.
Except we can do something about it. It's just that not everyone agrees that wearing a mask will stop the onslaught of students and staff who are likely to become sick and die.
Okay, so the deal with the mask was a lot of people are wearing, I think we covered this in one of the other videos, a lot of people were wearing cloth over their face. Cloth does nothing, okay? And I made this point before. If a person farts and they have an underwear, a pair of shorts, underwear, a pair of jeans, underwear and a skirt, underwear, pantyhose, whatever, it's going through because people can smell that far, okay? Germs, same way. The only thing the masks really did was protect the person who was wearing it from, when they were talking, if they had to cough, if they had to sneeze, it just really held in those larger droplets from a sneeze or a cough or something like that.
Protect you.
But it doesn't protect you from getting it. So,
Say it again for those in the back row.
No.
CRT is not being taught below law school. Those of you that are against it are being misled by the media about what CRT and where and when it is taught. What you're really against is the 1619 project, so start calling it what it is.
No, I think the thing is we all know that it's in the colleges. CRT has been in the colleges for a long time, which is fine because I think at this point they can decide what they want to believe, what is true, and they can actually research a lot of this stuff on their own. And it has actually already been proven that it is actually in school. It's in elementary, it's in middle, it's in high. It's already been proven.
I've seen worksheets of CRT. Don't tell me that it's not being taught in elementary school.
And we're in the South, okay? So I don't think it's really heavily here in our state, but it is in some schools, a lot of schools, especially in the blue states, I'm thinking. But the thing is when people get on here and they say it's not being taught in school, I believe that about as much as I can throw a tractor, and I can't even pick a tractor up. Thing is we've already seen visual proof. We've seen worksheets. We've seen assignments.
We've seen teachers talking about CRT and that teach elementary and middle school students.
We've seen it. We have seen it.
We've seen
now.
it from the horse's mouth.
So don't. Just because you're going to get up here and you're going to say that's not going on, guess what? it's been proven that it is going on. Okay, it is going on. We've seen the videos, we've heard the stuff, we've seen the handouts, we've seen assignments. We already know what's going on. So
we've seen the parents that brought worksheets up to these school systems and was telling.
We have seen these things with our eyes. So don't tell us that what we see and what we hear is wrong. Because if I see it with my eyes and I hear it with my ears, I don't care what you say. You might be saying it ain't going on in your school. That's fine. But we already know it is going on in all 50 states. Okay, we already know this.
You are against us teaching the true history of this country.
Okay, CRT is not history. CRT is saying that these black people are being oppressed presently by white people, and white people breathing, they are oppressors. That is not history. You're teaching CRT is that they are presently being oppressed.
Yeah, there is not really...
and the system is racist.
Yeah, there's not any systematic racism, and nobody is being oppressed. Now, if people are poor, a lot of times they're born that way, and a lot of times it's just people making the wrong choices.
And really, if you want to tell me that we have systemic racism here, let me ask everyone a simple question. Is there a law in place in our country that restricts black people or colored people from doing things a white person can do? Just answer that question really simply. And if you can't find one, true, there's no systemic racism. There's an economic oppression. I will say that. There is economic oppression. There's not systemic oppression. And if you want to look up the difference, there's Google right there on your phone or computer.
Exactly. So the thing is we can't touch on every single solitary thing that happened as far as teaching history. They're only given a certain set amount of time when you're in school, but everybody has libraries, there's encyclopedias, there's novels, there's books, there's Google, there's all kinds of things, and all these things are easily researched. I mean, they really are. Go to your library, there's things at your fingertips. The thing is they're squeezing in as much as they can squeeze in as far as about history, and people saying that 1619 Project is what's actually teaching true history is actually not.
It's false.
It's false. But do your research. We would absolutely say do your research and see what you figure out for yourself.
And on whitewashing the curriculum. So stop blaming CRT and start blaming your own biases.
It's not bias. It's the fact that you're trying to tell black people they will not amount to anything because of white people today. That is wrong.
That is exactly right.
My best friend right now is a black girl, and she is doing just fine, just like the rest of us. Don't tell me that my friend is oppressed because she's black. That is racist as hell. And you're trying to say that we're trying to say that you teaching black people they are still oppressed and they will not amount to anything. You're saying that's whitewashing. That is racist.
No, it's actually really, really terrible that people would go and basically say, that would say to another person or another race that you're never going to be anything because of the color of your skin. Because I have seen so many people of different skin colors and nationalities and religions do so much and be so successful.
If I was a black woman and my child came home and said my teacher said this about our race, I would break down. I'd be heartbroken for the fact they told my kid you will not be successful because of your color.
And everybody tells their children different. There are some people who teach their children hate. There are people who teach their children the differences in colors. There are people who teach their kids to hate other people based on what another person looks like, and then there are people who teach no matter where you come from, you can do anything that you want to do.
You take your mind to, yes.
Right, and that's what I've always told her. And again, she doesn't look biracial. She is biracial, okay?
And I've been friends with every race you can think of, and we are all the same. There's nothing different about any of us except for the melanin amount in our skins.
That's it. That's really the only difference. So, we can't really believe this. And two, another thing that really irks me is white people trying to tell everybody else.
They're trying to sell black people their oppression.
Right. But what bugs me is white people telling other white people that we're all racist. That really, really bugs me, especially when a white person tries to tell me how a black person feels, because last time I checked,
you weren't black.
You weren't black. So if I want to know how a black person feels, I will talk to a black person.
I mean, and you can honestly, ask a lot of black people, and they will tell you they do not feel oppressed. A lot of the white leftists will tell you that black people are being oppressed, but you're white, so how in the world do you know that? Have you talked to actual black people who feel oppressed?
And how many did you talk to, and where were they located, and where is this information that you're getting all this from?
I know, it's just so...
It really is. And see, that's
really
the thing
racist.
is, every time we do these social justice warrior things, then we end up sitting here talking about all these crazies out here. They drive me nuts. They really do drive me nuts.
Prejudices and racism.
I'm not racist,
And then
honey.
go read the New York Times curriculum of the 1619 Project.
And New York Times is pretty biased itself, so why would I read a biased network? I read every network to see where the inconsistencies lie, and typically New York Times is not neutral.
Because it is wonderful
No, it's
and should
not.
be included in all
New York Times spreads racism, man.
Today is the first time our country has recognized Juneteenth as a national holiday, and yet I'm getting ready to go back to school in the fall, and my governor has put into place some ridiculous legislation that many governors across the country have put into place, such as I can't teach anything divisive. I can't.
Well, yeah, because you shouldn't be telling kids that because of their race they will not be successful. I've seen many people of different races be successful. They're in the government, they're in teaching positions, they're in science positions, they're in the hospitals. They're everywhere, and they're doing great. They are doing great, no matter the skin color. It's because they had that logic, they had that amount needed, and they had the schooling that they needed to get that job. It is not because of race. Do not be telling people that because you're race, you will not be successful, you will fail, you will be poor, and you will only have to suck life out of the government. That is not
And
true.
don't teach people that one race is better than another race.
'Cause that's not true at all.
And don't tell one race that they can't do anything and another race that they're the reason somebody else can't do anything.
Because that's not true at all. I've
really
seen when we
isn't.
try to make a race better than another race, that is racist.
And the thing is we all need to learn from our history. History should be remembered where we see where we were and where we are
And
now.
how we progressed.
Right.
And the thing is that they're trying to get rid of our history and how we progressed.
So you see where you start from, you see where you are, and you learn from your past where you don't repeat the same mistakes.
Now, and the thing is where we had the biggest mistake was segregation. It was the enslavement of black people. Now, back then we were really prejudiced about skin color. Today we are not prejudiced about skin color, but now you're trying to reteach prejudice of skin color. Why are you doing that? Why are you regressing our progress?
And you're actually starting to try to go back to segregation.
Yeah, because I've already seen several teachers and a couple of principals in blue states propose that their classes in their schools be segregated based on race. That is ridiculous.
And then you have colleges that are accepting people with lower SAT scores, and you're getting the Asians and you're taking down their SAT scores in order to be able to put people who would not normally be able to be granted admission into certain colleges. That's really not fair.
It's wrong.
If somebody earned their SAT scores or different types of scores, we don't need to be changing what I want to say. We don't need to be changing where the goalpost is, okay? You can't keep moving it back. You can't move it down.
Because these people are going to be running our country one day, and for whatever occupation they want to do, they need to have the skill set in order to do so. And if they can't read a novel correctly, or they can't read a child's book correctly, then they should not be a doctor in a hospital dealing with patients in their lives.
Right. So the thing is you can't move the goalpost. You don't need to move what the criteria is for things, because there are students out there who excel at these things, and to bring those levels down,
You're dumbing down the generation.
You're dumbing down the generation, but also you're not
pushing them to learn.
Really. Exactly. These are the things that people need to try to attain.
Because I can tell you, the last year of my school year, 12th grade, that was when they started moving the grade system around, and people in my grade did not try as hard last year because they knew that they didn't have to pass with a high grade to graduate.
Well, the thing is too is if you don't hold back people when they don't earn what they should by at certain grade level, when you don't hold those back, why try? I mean, she said herself there was people in school who just did not do
They
homework.
didn't do their work, and
They didn't do
good on
assignments.
tests.
They didn't study for tests. They didn't do good on tests. They didn't turn in projects. They didn't participate, and they were passed, and they were allowed to graduate.
So
okay, so then you're going to start saying, okay, well, this person who didn't try to excel, who didn't push themselves, who didn't study, who didn't apply themselves, you're telling them that even though their SAT scores are really, really small, what you're going to do is you're going to take the people who worked hard and applied themselves and spent time studying, you're going to tell them that they can't come in, you're going to drop the SAT goalpost where this other person who didn't earn it to get into this
Basically,
college.
in short terms, you're going to reward the person with lack of effort, but you're going to punish the one who put the effort into it. That's wrong. That's wrong.
So, teach critical race theory, and I can't teach about racial equity. This is at all public schools, colleges, and universities.
Yeah, they shouldn't. A person who is competent enough can decide what they feel. You cannot be teaching elementary school kids and middle school kids and high school kids that because of their race they will not succeed. Because when you do that, it'll mentally make them not want to participate or try, and they will probably be dropouts. Do you really want to force people to drop out of school and think that there's no reason to laugh at all and maybe cause them mental problems because you said their race is going to be their downfall? What kind of sense does that make?
So, teachers, in the past, we've been activists. After this show,
I can tell you're an activist. You're not a teacher at all.
To stand up and do what's right for our kids right now. So, this is a call to action, teachers. We got to stand up and fight for our kids.
So indoctrinate kids. That's not your place.
Let me introduce you to our non-binary alpaca. The kids voted on a gender-neutral name, Alex, for them. Alex was there to help me during the really quiet moments when nobody would talk during virtual learning. Yes, they were so quiet. But then I also took it as an opportunity to teach my students about how to respect people's pronouns. Did Alex ever get misgendered? Yes. But then it opened up some teachable moments about what to do when that would happen.
No.
For example, hey, Mr. Vung, did he just wake up from his nap? Oh, do you mean did they wake up from their nap? Yeah, they just did.
That's going to confuse kids.
Quickly, make the correct.
Okay, this goes back to changing the language. You don't say, did they just wake up from their nap? Because typically they means more than one.
And there's only one person.
There's only one alpaca, and there's only one teacher. Hey, Mr. Hoo-Hoo, did such and such wake up from his nap would probably be better. Did Alex just wake up from his nap? It doesn't matter if you say he or she or whatever thing is, you're changing language. So the thing is, it's an alpaca. It's not your place to say, this is a non-binary alpaca.
Kids not going to understand that.
Kids don't understand
Just
that.
like if you were to tell them that Santa doesn't exist, they will not process
Exactly.
it. So,
that's the thing. And basically, I think these people are those types of people. They would be happy to tell little kids that there is no Santa and there is no Tooth Fairy. Okay? That there's no Easter Bunny.
There's no God.
That there is no God. Okay, these are these kinds of people, and I hate to say it because you're wanting to take childhood away from kids by teaching them things that they absolutely do not understand. They understand that's a freaking alpaca, and his name is Alex. And if they misgender him, oh well. Okay, it's not about pronouns. I mean, I'm really serious.
And that's not going to get them anywhere in life.
It really isn't. And when you start teaching crazy crap like that, again, what we said, you're dumbing down the generation. So stop trying to change the language.
I started off modeling how to correct somebody, and then afterwards my students would correct each other whenever somebody would misgender Alex.
Yeah, and they're going to be mass confused.
Representation in the classroom matters. My kids were 5th graders, and they still got a kick out of Alex. Oh yes, and here's Alex's friend, Lincoln the Llama, who goes by pronouns he, him.
Lincoln.
At first, my students thought that he had very feminine features, so they thought that he was a girl. And this is why we should never assume somebody's gender just based.
I have no words. Does the llama or whatever that thing is?
Llama.
I mean, okay, it's Lincoln the llama or whatever.
And it's got eyelashes.
And it's got eyelashes.
So it's typically how toys were made and still are made when they're girl toys. Typically they have eyelashes.
I really think the whole thing is basically people who are teaching our children all this different shit. You're creating problems where there are no problems. You're creating anxiety because people don't want to be screamed at because they've been misgendered. If you look like a chick, we think you're a chick. when you tell people I'm a they, you're not a they, you're just one person. They indicates more than one.
You're a he or she.
You're either a he or a she. Okay, if you look like a chick, I'm probably gonna, say, just in conversation with somebody, such and such she or whatever. But if I know your damn name, I'm not even gonna use a pronoun. I'm gonna call you by your name. Let's stop making the shit so complicated.
I mean, it's brainwashing and it's grooming them into behaving and thinking a certain way.
It's creating anxiety where there should be no anxiety. Nobody should be in fear of misgendering somebody that they've never freaking met before. Okay?
Based on what they look like. All right, Lincoln, say something. Hello. My students were really surprised how low his voice sounded. Don't assume.
So, here's another episode of Social Justice Warriors. In typical fashion, it turns into our opinions obviously get thrown in there. And the thing is we don't want to step on anybody else's toes. We don't want to encroach on anybody else's beliefs. But our thing is don't push what you think on everybody else. I have no issues. She has no issues. I don't care if somebody is a dude and they want to be a chick. If it's a chick who wants to be a dude, I don't care what your pronouns are. Be whatever you want to do. And the thing is don't force it on everybody else, okay? We shouldn't be required to learn everybody's pronouns. We shouldn't be allowed to be screamed at if we misgender somebody, if we use the wrong pronoun or whatever. Nobody can read minds, okay? I'm going to call you by whatever name that you say is your name. And, let us just all get along. We all have to live in this same world together. Let's stop being so mean to each other. Let's stop being so angry. Let's stop attacking each other, okay? We need to all be one team, okay? We all need to be one team, all right? So do what you want to do. We'll do what we want to do. We won't step on your toes. We won't get in your business, and have the same attitude towards everybody else. Okay, we need to be nicer to people. We need to smile at people. We need to be cordial to people. We need to treat people the way that we would want to be treated. Okay, if you're a dude and you want to be called Sally, hey Sally, I have no issue with that. Just stop trying to change the language. Stop trying to change definitions of things, and let's just start being a little bit nicer to people, okay? It's not really that difficult, and I really think that COVID really all made us a bunch of psychopaths, really, honestly. Anyway, another Social Justice Warriors where we had to weigh in again.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, is it thunder?
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, y'all. We get really excited around here when it gets stormy. I don't even ask me why. It's just the best weather ever.
Besides, we need our medication.
And we need our medication.
Yeah, it's 9:26.
Oh, yeah. I got to get her dad medicine. So, anyway, if you're new to the channel, please check out other stuff. We don't like to typically get serious. So, check out our other videos. Normally, we just do a lot of reactions, so we don't like to weigh in on stuff. We like to keep it light, or we like to keep it scary or creepy or whatever. But if you're new to the channel, think about subscribing. Please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Give us some ideas of things you would like us to react to. And if you are one of our subscribers, thank you for your subscription. We appreciate your time. And until our next video, peace.